European collective defense. That was all running very, very smoothly. It was moving very, very quickly after the PESCO agreement was signed in 2020. COVID happened. A lot of these things came to a grinding halt. And then the Ukraine conflict, this phase began in February 2022. And all of a sudden, from NATO becoming irrelevant to European collective defense moving in as the future of European defense, all of a sudden, completely upstaged again by NATO. NATO becoming the center of European economic, political, and defense, and determining the fate of the European economy and sanctions and all the stuff that's gone with it. So that's a big, big change. Now, Trump has come in and is now throwing questions on NATO. I will argue that the British have never had real sovereignty in terms of defense. They've always been half occupied by the United States. The nuclear deterrent in Britain is US controlled effectively. They kind of go where America wants them to go. The danger would be if the United States pulls out of NATO or decides to recuse itself from European defense in the central role. This leaves a vacuum open for an outlying European country like Britain to move in and cause all sorts of mayhem. We see the role that Britain's played already in some of these operations like Krinky and the Kursk, and attacks on Crimea and so forth. You could have a situation where the U.S. could be pulled back into Europe because of something that a European power like Britain or Germany has kicked off or started, or the Baltic states. These countries will be driving the defense outcomes. And the problem has always been with Europe is it's impossible to get a consensus on anything regarding foreign policy. This has always been the big weakness of the European Union as a political union. And Britain plays the role, I think, of chief whip in many ways to make sure the United States is on the war path. This is hugely problematic. That's the paradox of the situation. If there was a compassionate, pragmatic, responsible U.S. administration, NATO could work if it didn't have an expansionist policy. Without the U.S. in NATO, then becomes very dangerous for Europe, and the risks of having a war with Russia or someone starting a war with Russia. Let's be honest, it's not the first time the European powers, through their petty tribal proclivities, had to drag the United States into two world wars. First, get the U.S. to underwrite the First World War, underwrite the Second World War, and then drag them in, and they can do a victory lap at the end and then do the rebuilding. This is the dilemma that we find ourselves in if you want to kind of look at the bigger geopolitical questions on this.